The Renew podcast features inspiring conversations between host Lauren Martin and influential women shaping the real estate industry. Renew is a rent-free initiative to unite and cheer on women professionals from every corner of the real estate world, coast to coast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Renew podcast presented by Rentspree. I'm your host, Lauren Martin. I'm so excited to pick up the conversation with Sarah Wheeler, editor-in-chief over at HousingWire. Sarah, welcome back. It is such an honor to have you.
Thank you for having me, Lauren. This has been so much fun.
This has been a blast. It is so great to have you on, and I'm just so excited for our listeners to hear all about what you do. But we ended part one talking about the amazing women in real estate. And at Renew, one of the main things that I wanted to do is highlight women like you who really make a difference in our industry, and to just add more seats at the table to have conversations on some truly inspiring women who change our industry. So just to get us kicked off, I would love to hear if you have a kind of a pop quiz answer. Who is a woman in history who has inspired you the most?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. A woman in history who's inspired me the most. I think Eleanor Roosevelt is somebody who a lot of people would point to, and I would do the same, because I feel like although she wasn't in an official position of power, because it was so limited at the time, I feel like she leveraged what she had to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
For women, but also just for everybody in the nation, and changed, along with her husband, so many amazing things, laid the foundation for so much of what we see happening now. Could not have happened without that sort of strength, drive. The drive there is amazing, the intellect and the ability to execute and get things done. Love it.
Yeah, I love that. That is definitely somebody in history who really paved the way for women's rights, and also just showed us what it's like to be a very powerful but classy woman all at the same time.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, moving into the women empowerment segment, I have a question for you. If you were writing a HousingWire cover story 5 years from now, title The Women Who Changed Housing Forever, who would be on the list?
Oh my gosh, this is such a hard question, because I know of so many people who would be on this list. I feel like, I would start with the people that I know, sort of the OGs. They're not necessarily old, but OGs in our industry who laid the path. Many of them who started out, like I think of Patty Arvielo in lending, who started out cleaning, offices in banks and mortgage companies.
Wow.
And now leads New American Funding. I have interviewed so many people in that had that background, because when you came of age in a certain time, there was not the opportunity to work as, at a high level. Many of the women who started, they started as secretaries, and they worked 30 years in that company, ended up being the CEO, ended up being the president. And I think those are the women who laid the foundation for everything that came, because they broke that barrier to say, I'm starting in this position and I'm going to do such an amazing job that you're going to have to make a place for me at the table. And we've seen that over and over again. And I think now, if you're coming up now, you're like, well, what's the big deal? It's like, no. They started in a way that there was not a place for them to do. They made the place for them. I know so many people. We recognize women every year in our Women of Influence award program. So, when we first started, I think it was like 20, and then we went to 50. Now it's 100. It is so hard to narrow it down to 100. I'm not even kidding, because the people are amazing. We just picked our newest class. We'll be announcing them at the end of the month, and I am telling you, it is crazy. So I would say, there are specific people, but I would say the type of person is the one who's like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I have the will to power, the drive to make something happen out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting, and if anyone looked at me, they would not think that I'm going to end anywhere big, but I know I am. And to me, it's the starting, but it's also in the middle, where you're putting in all the grind sessions and you're doing all the work and no one's really recognized it yet.
Yeah.
And that's the point at which many people are just like, well, why am I doing this? Or I'm going to give up. But it's the women who in that moment are like, I know what I'm going for. I know that I'm going to get there, and I'm going to keep going. And that's what I see as that resilience and that grit in so many of the people people who win our awards, they didn't start with a silver spoon in their mouth, but they sure ended up doing that and bringing a whole lot of people along with them.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I've been so fortunate to have interviewed some really awesome people in our space. And the reason why I wanted to get started was actually, I don't know if you know, Teresa King-Kinney over at Miami. I had the honor of getting to know her really early on in my career. And I was like, you have to share your story. People have to know about this. And, you know, just like what you do, I'm so thrilled that you get to highlight so many women, because to your point, there are so many powerful ladies that started out as agents. They worked in their mom's office. You know, I had Lauren Hill on, who worked in Stephanie Hill's office, you know, started out. I had a couple people on that said they just started out as they answered a newspaper ad and they answered the phones at the MLS office. And now they're the CEO. And it really is putting in the grind, but most importantly, I think the belief in yourself that you can get there.
I think this is something that I love about our industry, is that you have that ability. So how many people do we know who became amazing sales leaders, brokerage leaders, or just amazing agents who graduated from high school or had a baby in high school and had to quit and had to get their GED, or like, you know, circumstances were not where they could go to college, or they started this when they were older and they already had kids, or like, I feel like the opportunity here is one of the few spaces where it's like, listen, you may start out in a different place, but you can end up much better off, just depending on how you do this industry. And so I love that about our industry, is that there are so many stories of like, wow, these people came in and did amazing things.
Yeah. Well, especially too, I mean, the example you gave in our first episode of somebody coming in and recognizing all that you did and giving you the opportunity, you know, to your point, so many people give up when they're putting in the work and they're like, I mean, I felt that way, like, especially when I started my podcast. Nobody's listening to it. Does anybody care? And you just have to keep going, because there is somebody out there that sees what you're doing and, you know, is going to lift you up for sure.
That, especially with podcasts or any social media thing, it is the consistency that's going to make the difference.
Yes.
And how hard is that to do when you're like, especially because in some things you're consistent, but you're not reminded every day what the low stakes are. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing social or you're doing podcasts, you can see like, okay, 5 people listen to this, or like, you know, 6 people like this. Like, how do I get more than that? And so I think that feedback loop can be discouraging if you let it be. But you got to figure out the way, like, how do I get through? What does it look like? And let's be honest, it's harder now than ever to have a bigger voice, because you have all these distributed channels and you have a ton of people doing it. So it takes a lot of grit.
For sure. You know, my marketing team talks to me all the time, like, viewership is down, viewership is through the roof. And there are some of those moments where they're like, oh, we had like 20 people download. And I had a pivotal moment in my like podcasting career where I had a really low month, not many people listened, but I had somebody reach out and say, hey, just want to let you know that changed my entire year. Like, I was in a slump. I was feeling really discouraged. I felt like I wasn't gonna, you know, move up, but listening to so-and-so talk really changed my entire mindset. And that for me made all the difference in the world, because maybe I don't have 5,000 people tuning in, but the people that are, it's making a difference, and the stories that we share touch people, you know?
I think we have to redefine influence. You know, when we think about influencers, it's like the scope, the breadth, but influence can also be the depth. And I think a lot of times we have influence in a way that is deeper, but smaller. But in my opinion, that's a better way to go. And I agree with you, because we really can't always influence the breadth. But I feel like we can influence the. I was earlier trying to remember. Marianne McGarry is another person that I wanted. She specifically started at her lender as a secretary. Had to go to her boss. She was kicking all the guys' butts. She was doing more business, and she had to go to him, and he was like, "I can't pay you the same as that person. He's a man." And she was like, "I mean, because back then, that was legal." And
Yeah.
she was like, I tell you what, give me a chance over this year. And she proved it to him over a year. She ended up owning the company.
That's amazing.
And that person, that's hugely influential on me. I hope that story, no matter how many people hear it, think about that. But to your point, like, it's there's a verse actually that I like, a Bible verse that says, "Don't despise the day of small beginnings." And to me, that has always been a thing. Like, you don't know what the effect is going to be. You do your
Yeah.
job, you do what you do, and that small beginning could turn into something really big.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, there's so many people that could discourage too, right? Like, I guess they said, I'm never going to make as much as a man, so why not? Why should I try? And she said, no, let me prove you wrong. Let me show you that I'm better. Man, woman, doesn't matter. And she did. And that's amazing. So kudos to her for sure.
No, I love it. And also, sad that that was legal at the time for him to be like, I'm not paying you that much. You're a woman.
Yes.
And they ended up being great friends, and he trusted her with the company. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I think our influence, we never know. I love to hear that someone listened to someone on your podcast and really felt that. But also, I think, Lauren, just your approach. Like, I love your approach and the questions you're asking. That's an influence.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. That really does. Because, a lot of the times when we think about women empowerment, one thing that's important to me is there's a lot of negativity out there. And I really just want to bring the positive, right? We've come so far. To your point, how was that legal for somebody to ask somebody that? And we've just come so far. As an industry and just as human beings, it's really been great to see the change.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, okay. So as there are so many inspirational women in this space, what would you say is one of the top qualities a woman would need to have to excel?
I think one of the things that I recognize in some of these great women that I get to meet, that I'm sure you get to meet, is that they know who they are and they're okay with whatever that is. So Miriam McGarry is a good example. She is a soft-spoken, like if you met her, you'd be like, oh, she's so nice. I bet she makes cookies. And she does. I bet she does bake cookies.
Yeah.
But within that personality, without changing to be someone she's not, she was able to grow this incredible company. I've seen that over and over again, where people can, I think the strongest thing is just to be who you are, but be the most excellent version of who you are.
Yeah.
Not trying to be somebody else, not trying to, it's something I had to take to heart in journalism, especially when I started. That sort of hard-bitten, mostly male energy, I would say, was very rampant in newsrooms. And, if you were going to be, you were definitely going to be picked on and not seen as serious if you weren't that kind of person. Well, I am not that kind of person. I am like, I'm just,
I'm with you.
I have mom energy. I'm the mom to 4 kids, and I just feel like I've always been pretty nice. That does not mean I'm not serious or smart or skilled or can be tough. And
Yeah.
so I think it's when you know who you are and you're like, no, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to bring to the table. And
Yeah.
it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the very best, most excellent version of this person who I actually am. I'm not going to be somebody else. I'm not going to try to be someone else. I'm just going to be the most excellent version of me.
Yeah, I love that. I have to say, I'm a very bubbly person. I love pink, Hello Kitty, Spice
it.
Girls, whatever, and there was a moment in my life where somebody came to me and said, I thought you were going to be really stupid. And that stuck with me. And for the longest time, I thought, well, why would they think that? And I tried to change myself a little bit. And I came to a point maybe 5 years ago where I just said, why do I care? I am who I am. I'm good at what I do. And there's no other me. I'm the only one that's out there. And I shouldn't want to be somebody different.
I love that so much, Lauren. And I love that. And I bet you have a bunch of people who relate to you as you and love Hello Kitty and love the pink and love that bubbliness. And again, that doesn't, there's not one single mode that's like,
right.
This is a successful mode of an operator in any point, especially for women. But I hope that's not the same for men. I hope they get to be who they really are. Like,
Yeah.
we should all be who we really are.
Exactly. I have a saying, I said it on stage for the first time like a year ago. I'm a firm believer that everybody is a special edition Barbie, right? Like, you are a special edition HousingWire newsroom Sarah Barbie, and there's only one of those. It's
I
special
love
edition.
it.
So,
Oh my gosh, that's what a great attitude. And now with AI, we can make ourselves into those action figure things.
yes, exactly. Your special edition Sarah Wheeler Barbie, and there's only one of you. So,
I also think what other people, especially in women, have seen historically, maybe still see as weaknesses, are actually strengths.
yeah.
So your bubbliness, your optimism, your, my empathy, my whatever, like you see those as weaknesses, I guarantee you. I mean, someone sees those as weaknesses, I guarantee you those are my strengths and your strengths and other people's strengths.
Exactly. It brings diversity and uniqueness, right? Like, we all think about things from a different perspective, and it allows us to be relatable to the people who are like us.
Agreed.
Well, I have one last question for you. This has been so fun. I can't thank you enough, but this is the renew question I end all of my podcasts on. If you could go back in time and give advice to your little girl self, what would you tell her?
This question. I have kids, and so in some ways you feel like you're doing that, right? When they're little and you're like, let me tell you what I've learned. And I think it's what we talked about you be you. You be you. It's gonna be great. You be you. You work hard and you never stop believing that you can make it better, that your life can be better, that's going to get better. And I know, listen, we all are in this life. We're all going to end up the same way. Maybe it's not that happy of a story, but it's like, if you have that optimism and you believe that you can do your best, that's going to be enough. It's going to be enough. It's going to be great. And I think I was a kid who was pretty pessimistic, actually. I could always, I think I thought about death from a very young age. I was just one of those kids. I was.
Yeah.
And so I think that I was the anxious kid and I was the worried kid. And I have so little of that in me now. And it's so much better and so much more fun, life in general. And so I think I would just say, it's going to be fine and you're going to be enough.
Yeah. Exactly. You should write the anxiety book that I'm reading, because already just in that, it's way less anxiety producing.
That's so funny. You're like, please get less anxious and then come back and write this book.
Right, exactly. Like, maybe you should read your book and then write it again or something. I don't know. But I love that. I think that we all need to realize that life is just going to work out the way that it's supposed to. And be you, be the best version of you that you can be. And that's all you can really do. And hope for the best in others. I think I love that. And I love that you get the opportunity to help your kids along the way, because it really is, what you would tell yourself in younger form, for sure.
I love that, Lauren. This has been so much fun. It's so funny because I'm like, wait, I want to ask you all these questions as we're going down. I'm like, but I want to know what your answer is to that. So I have to reverse this at some point.
I would love that. You know what? I haven't really been on the other side of a podcast, so it would be very interesting for sure. And I'm just so thankful for you to take the time. I know we're out of time, but if you want to just take a minute, anything exciting at HousingWire that you want our listeners to know about?
Yes, so we just wrapped up our gathering conference. We've really leaned into events in the last year and a half, and we are coming up on our AI Summit. I am really excited about this. I get to help plan this. I get to talk to a lot of really smart people, and our goal is always like, what's the practical use of this as I walk out of the room? And that's how we look at everything. So everyone on that stage is going to bring the practical. So I'm excited about the AI Summit, the IMB Summit, all of the things we're doing at HousingWire that are event related.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited for all of that for you. To anybody who's listening, please make sure to check out HousingWire if you haven't already. Tune in to Sarah's podcast. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to the Renew podcast on whatever pod platform you listen to us on. Until next time, Sarah, I'm so happy that special edition Sarah Wheeler Barbie is in the world, and it has been such an honor.
Lauren, this has been a complete pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day and continue with the girl power. Until next time.